In the previous short video lecture, I shared with you the website for the EPA TRI pollution prevention tool. And we checked out pollution prevention practices that were being pursued by companies located in Dauphin County. So to summarize what's going on with pollution prevention, the total releases have declined by 61% since 1990 for both air, land, and water. So this is good news. We're definitely making improvements in terms of chemicals being released into the environment with regards to that decline occurring. And part of that is due to various pollution prevention techniques that are being employed by corporations, industries, and manufacturing facilities. Also, the air releases decreased from electrical and chemical manufacturing plants. A 56% decrease of over 850 million tons less has been emitted into the air since 2005. And this is a measure that occurred over a 10-year period. So that's good news as well, that we're seeing less being released into the atmosphere from electrical and chemical manufacturing plants. And there could be multiple things that are contributing to this. Obviously, the toxic release inventory reporting mechanism and the push for pollution prevention activities and processes to be incorporated into industrial manufacturing processes, as well as more strict environmental regulations with the Clean Air Act and the various acts that I've already expressed in terms of chemicals that are considered toxic or hazardous. So a specific subset for pollution prevention is green chemistry. And green chemistry is basically practicing chemistry in a way that you incorporate some form of substitution in the chemical reactions in order to avoid a byproduct that is considered toxic or hazardous. So basically, green chemistry is approaches in chemical reaction scenarios to find non-hazardous substitutes for hazardous substances that are used in the chemical reaction. Also doing wet cleaning or water-based cleaning compounds instead of dry cleaning chemicals like the perchloroethylene that you'll learn about later on in this presentation. Also using products or chemicals that are considered to be biodegradable as opposed to being persistent in the environment for long time frames. Another aspect of green chemistry is reusing of chemicals, and that can include recycling those chemicals, reusing them, or cleaning up the chemicals so that they can be used again. Prevention, substitution, and reuse has reduced hazardous waste releases into the environment, and part of this is considered to be part of public disclosure of what companies are putting out into the environment. And as a result of requiring that public disclosure, the TRI is playing a crucial role in companies recognizing that they need to limit what they're releasing into the air, the land, and the water because the information is publicly available. And with it being publicly available, people can review it and make interpretations of that data and make decisions in regards to whether or not they're going to purchase products made by those companies. Another website that I'd like to introduce you to is the ECHO website. ECHO stands for Enforcement and Compliance History Online. The ECHO website has data for over 800,000 regulated facilities in the U.S. This website is a useful tool for the public to utilize in order to determine whether or not there's facilities in your community that are not in compliance with the environmental regulations. The information that is utilized by ECHO to determine if a facility is not in compliance includes the permit data for that facility, the various inspection dates and the findings of those inspections, any violations that were issued at the local, state, or federal level, as well as any enforcement actions and penalties that were assessed for air emissions, surface water discharges, hazardous waste, and/or drinking water systems. So, through this website, you can basically investigate the pollution sources in your neighborhood. This is the ECHO website. The address for it is echo.epa.gov, depicted up here in the URL line. Again, ECHO stands for Enforcement and Compliance History Online. And you can do a quick search by just typing in a zip code or the name of a city, or you can search for a particular community or explore a particular category of facility, like maybe electrical coal burning power plants or metal mining. And then they have resources available to you. They also provide a means by which you can create maps for your particular community as well as analyze the data. For simple approach purposes, we're going to type in the city of Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, to find out if there are any facilities within Harrisburg that are in non-compliance. Okay, so the search has completed, and it appears that for the city of Harrisburg at the ECHO website, there are 402 facilities that were discovered that meet the requirements for being reported in the Enforcement and Compliance History online website. As we look at the criteria on the right of the screen, it indicates that there are 9 facilities that have current violations. None of the facilities have significant violations. 19 facilities have had violations within the past 3 years. 10 facilities have formal enforcement actions within the past 5 years. And 22 facilities have informal enforcement actions within the past 5 years. So, this map in the center of the screen, you can zoom in on and actually locate a facility and click on it and get more information. In addition to that, there is a data table which lists all the companies that are depicted by data points on the map, and it determines what level of compliance is being expressed in the reports with the C, the I, the E, and the L. So, the list includes Hershey Creamery Company, located in Harrisburg, Dayton Parts, right on Cameron Street, Montour Oil Company, the Susquehanna Resource Management Complex, Electronic Service and Design, the Shipley Oil Company, and the list goes on. Like I said, there's 402 facilities listed here. Goodyear Auto Service Center, Federal Express, Hydrolon, and so on. So you can actually pick out a company and look at it specifically to find out what's going on with it. Let's take a look at the Consolidated Scrap Resources on Cameron Street in Harrisburg. This is a facility that collects metals and also scraps automobiles and cars. It doesn't look like they've had any significant violation, but they have had 1 quarter in the past 3 years where they were in non-compliance. They've had about 8 inspections over the past 5 years, and they've had 1 formal enforcement action in the past 5 years. So let's click on this company, and it opens up what's called a detailed facility report. It actually shows you the location of the company, and it provides an aerial photograph so we can see that these are actually stacks of cars just waiting to be recycled at this facility. And you can look up related reports in terms of any pollutant loading that's associated with the Clean Water Act, any Clean Water Act effluent data of what was discharged into the streams, and any Clean Water Act effluent limitation exceedances that occurred from this particular facility. So it looks like this facility has to meet requirements with the Clean Air Act, the Clean Water Act, the Resource Conservation Recovery Act, and the Safe Drinking Water Act. So we can click on each one of these items, and more information about the facility will pop up onto the screen. So it looks like some facility system characteristics. They are registered with compliance for the Clean Air Act. This is their registration identification number. And they also are registered in need to be in compliance with the Clean Water Act. And they have a permit that they're operating under that doesn't expire until 2020. The address is provided here for the facility, And the SIC codes pertain to the actual material that they're handling on site. Let's look at the enforcement and compliance information. So we have a list of all statutes here that they've had some form of enforcement or compliance action, and it looks like they've had some inspectors on site. They had an audit and an evaluation and a site reconnaissance that was done, and these were pertaining to their air systems, and this was pertaining to the ICP system, which is related to the Clean Water Act and waters being discharged into nearby streams. And it even gives you the dates of when these activities occurred. It looks like there's a violation that occurred, and that was dated in 2016. So we could dig in and find more information on this if we wanted to by clicking on those line items. And it does look like there was a formal enforcement action where an administrative order was issued to them in 2016, and they had a penalty of $1,000, and it was related to something pertaining to the Clean Air Act that they were in violation of. And again, Clean Air Act and Clean Water Act, they had a violation of that back in 2016 and 2017. So you can click on water quality concerns. It appears that this facility is located next to the Paxton Creek that goes through Harrisburg, and any discharges from this facility could be impacting that stream and that watershed. In terms of air quality, the pollutants of concern that are being monitored and reported by this facility include ozone, lead, particulate matter, and sulfur dioxide. Okay, so that was one facility. I went back and clicked on another facility that's called the Lancaster County Solid Waste Management Authority Susquehanna Resource Management Complex. This is a waste-to-energy facility that was formerly known as the Harrisburg Waste Incinerator, and it recently was purchased by Lancaster County. You're going to learn more about the Lancaster County Resource Management Complex in a laboratory that you're doing in this class, but I want to share with you some information pertaining to this facility. It has a history of non-compliance, and now that Lancaster owns it, they have retrofitted the industrial processes of burning waste and converting that heat to electricity. So they're doing better, but they still have to address the fact that there's been enforcement actions in the past. So looking at this, it indicates that the Clean Air Act was in violation, and that there have been over $45,000 in fines and enforcement actions assessed within the past 5 years pertaining to this specific facility. So as far as facility characteristics, it appears that they need to meet Clean Air Act requirements, and they have different permits that they're operating under. They are considered to be a major emissions source for air emissions. They're classified as a solid waste combustion and incinerator as well. In terms of enforcement actions, this lists the dates of which an enforcement or an inspection occurred. So, for example, in April 2017, they did a stack test of the emission tower, and it passed. They discovered that they were meeting the permit requirements on that stack test. And here it looks like they had an inspector on site. They did stack tests again, and you can see there's quite a few stack tests where they were found to have passed the permit requirements and they were not in violation. Okay, so this section here lists major violations that occurred in April and May of 2015, and the result was fines were issued up to $44,000. An administrative order was required and given to the company to correct the problems. And this just pertains to the demographic data pertaining to the area. This website's really helpful. It allows you to find companies in your area that might not meet the laws and to inquire further about what's going on with those companies.